April 2006. It is 7:30 a.m. At this time of the morning there are very few people on the square, but the pigeons are up and have already descended from their rooftop roosts. They all eagerly await their breakfast. Attentive, expectant, the flock is tightly gathered on the west side of the square, which is the designated location for distributing the food. Suddenly, 45 kilos of bird food seem to flow as if by magic from the arms of two people who appear to be casually walking through the square. They do not wear any distinctive clothing, and their movement is so swift, and the seeds fall so quickly, and the 1,500 pigeons plunge into them so fervently, that it is hard to capture the moment with the camera. It all takes me by surprise. It is over in a few minutes. The square has begun its day. Having fed the birds, the Save the Trafalgar Square Pigeons (STTSP) volunteers leave and are soon replaced at the scene by the employees of the cleaning firm contracted by the Greater London Authority (GLA) to clean up the remains that attest this daily operation: feathers lost in the frenzy and fresh pigeon droppings. When their job is finished, they also move on and leave the square. The day must also continue for the pigeons. Some of them disperse, some go back to their nests, some decide to perch somewhere else, some 200 or so stay, preferring to move to the northwest corner of the square, where there is still a chance of some extra food being spread for lunch. Indeed, pigeon food is no longer available throughout the day. The pigeon feed stall has disappeared, and other than the allowed to the STTSP by special arrangement, feeding has been illegal since 2003. Occasionally, some other pro-pigeon activists who do not approve of the agreement reached by the GLA and the STTSP drop by at midday with some more seeds. And although the birds might not appreciate the administrative minutiae, they are well aware of how things work now and move on to where lunch might be served. By 9 a.m., the rush hour fades and the square begins to fill with tourists. Soon the hawk handler arrives on the square, having first finished his shift at the National Gallery. To control the pigeon population in the square, the GLA combines this constrained feeding scheme with the services of a pest control company to deter as many birds as possible from staying on the square. The hawk chooses a tree from whence to survey the pigeons while keeping an eye on his handler. When the time comes, that is, when the pigeons seem to have formed such a big group as to need reminding of the new rules, the hawk reacts to his handler's signal and flies back to his arm to enjoy a cockerel, yet another bird in this scene. The hawk passes very close to the pigeon flock, forcing them to disperse and avoid the danger. The hope is that not many pigeons stay at the square under the mistaken impression of being welcomed or even tolerated. This is no longer their place. Finishing their 2-hour shift at Trafalgar, the handler and his hawk move to their next assignment in central London, including my own alma mater, King's College. By midday, children enjoying a school trip open and packed lunches on the tables, steps, and smooth stone surrounds of the fountains. Employees from the nearby buildings soon join them. Tourists and many other city dwellers are also having lunch at the square. They all leave behind some bits and crumbs that the pigeons quickly dispose of. Some birds even check the bins, tearing open plastic bags and empty sandwich packages just in case. Unlike the STTSP volunteers, these people have not left this temptation for the birds on purpose, or at least they have all been warned that they should not be leaving food, be it seed or scraps, for the pigeons. 4 metal signs display warnings against pigeon feeding in 5 languages. Mayor Kane Livingstone is eager to crack down on intentional feeding, but as London's open-air and public living room, to paraphrase the mayor, the square inevitably attracts crumbs and other detritus, and the pigeons are wily creatures that know a good thing when they see it. Nonetheless, in case the GLA's message is not clear or the need arises to exert some civil discipline, the heritage wardens are watchfully patrolling the square. If they see someone feeding the pigeons, they will speak to the person and hand out the flyer. The flyer mentions the prohibition against feeding the pigeons, the fine for doing so, up to £50, and the controlled feeding program agreed by the GLA and the STTSP. It also highlights a relation between feeding and pigeon overpopulation that is not sustainable, as well as that between overpopulation and poor health for the pigeons. It also points to the corrosive effects of droppings, the negative effect of too many pigeons on tourism, the health risks for humans, and the cost of cleaning pigeon mess for the taxpayer. The heritage wardens might even send you to the north side of the square if you seem insistent on wanting to feed the birds. Because this area is under the control of Westminster Council, rather than the GLA who employ the heritage wardens, you will not be fined for feeding them there. The STTSP stresses this legal loophole on its website, the non-existence of a Westminster Council bylaw, and hence the freedom to feed the pigeons is announced in 6 languages. It will be here, in the northwest corner, where the dissenting group of activists will make sure that the pigeons also get their lunch. With a look of resignation in his face, the cleaner paid by Westminster Council waits until the meal is finished and pushes his cart behind the birds, sweeping up the scraps. Occasionally, he bangs his broom against the cart to startle the pigeons and set their wings to flight. As the day progresses, the square gets busier. It will see Londoners passing by, tourists visiting, photographers, performers, protesters, homeless, event organizers, children, wanderers, youngsters hanging out, all sorts of people. Some will play the me and the pigeon picture game. This consists of at least 2 people, one who holds the camera ready to press the button whilst the other runs through the flock, clapping, laughing, screaming, moving arms and legs, getting the birds to lift in flight. This is when the other player must take the picture. The game has become more efficient in our digital age. Some will take advantage and take furtive pictures with their mobile phones. For many, the pigeons are invisible. Some city dwellers have become oblivious to the presence of pigeons around them. For others, pigeons are what Trafalgar Square is all about. Lovers, friends and colleagues set the square as a rendezvous, and some of them take pictures, some watch others in their own interactions with the pigeons, others kick the birds, and others have melancholic conversations about the times when you were allowed to feed them. Their stories recreate the classic black and white images of the pigeon-filled square from decades earlier. But for all of them and for the pigeons themselves, things are not the same as before 2000. Pigeons and the square are not the same. Both the human and avian experiences of visiting Trafalgar Square have changed. Volunteers, hawk and handler, heritage wardens, an absent food seller, cleaners, unseen GLA square management officers, sweepers, tourists, locals and pigeons sing today to a different tune. Mary Poppins' melodic invitation to feed the birds is no longer acceptable. This intricate and quotidian routine of humans and birds, hawk, pigeons, and the passive silent cockerel is relatively discreet. There is an ordinary quality to the proceedings that belies the much more complex and contested ontological choreography of pigeons, feeders, cleaners, wardens, public servants, hawks, and handlers. This dissertation explores this daily operation as an instance of our spatial relationships with animals, relationships through which our humanity, their animality, and our, their, worlds and spaces are effectuated in practice.
Come feed the little birds, show them you care, and you'll be glad if you do. Their young ones are hungry, their nests are so bare.